Edwards on the drive, goes inside the floor. Turn him over again. Booker scoops it up. Booker brings the boom.
What is up, everyone? Run Pure Sports. We got the Up to Lock show for you guys. We are free today, so if you could smash that like, subscribe to the channel, we would appreciate it. And of course, the NBA has taken off tomorrow, so they have gave us a plethora of games tonight. We have 11, I think, on DK. If you're a psychopath like me, you are grinding the 2, 4, 6, 8. Actually, it's 11 on FanDuel too. So I guess it's all the same. I thought it was everything on there as well. But 11 games, we're going to grind it out. A lot of games locking at 7, 7:38. So it's going to be a crazy time. But DC, how's it going over there?
Things are good. Coming off somewhat disappointing NFL Sunday with Mr. Michael Penix. Couldn't get a damn touchdown for us, man. So that was tilting. Actually ended up doing okay on the day, thanks to of all things, cash games, saving my bacon a little bit. But I would definitely prefer the other way, to win at tournaments and lose at cash games. Not how it went yesterday. Yeah, we don't need to revisit we know we're on the right side, man. We know we had the sharp play, right? We don't have the money in our account to show it, but we know we were on the right play.
Yeah, we got the Scalancey bucks, as they say.
Yeah.
I feel pretty good that hey, if you want to, JT would hate this. Michael Penix was on the winner, right? I mean, technically, he was on the winner.
That doesn't mean anything. I was JT on that one. That means something.
I know. I'm just messing. All right, we got to talk NBA, right? There's too much to discuss to really get into the shenanigans. And one thing I will call out, this 7 o'clock window is pretty clean, right? Like this first upcoming window of games where we have 4 to talk about, it's real clean, which is good. Maybe we'll get some news throughout the show that'll kind of help us out. The big news we're waiting on. And again, there's guys that like Tyler Kolak, I don't give a shit about that, right? I care about RJ Barrett, though. He's questionable in that Raptors game. In the Hawks game, the 2 biggest pieces of news are Trae Young, Bogdan Bogdanovic, questionable. We got Josh Giddey, questionable. Lonzo Ball's questionable too, but I don't care that much about that. We got Koulibaly doubtful and Sarr questionable, which could be intriguing. Zubac, he is questionable, and Desmond Bane in the same game. And then I think we got one more to talk about. Luka, he is questionable. That's a big one. We do have Jamal Murray as questionable. That doesn't really count for this slate, so we're good there. But if you are playing some late slate stuff, you got him questionable. You got Draymond questionable. And honestly, AD and LeBron are questionable. I do think they probably play, but just calling this out. They probably play on Christmas, I would 99% sure. And you never know if they're going to sit that game so LeBron can give a little extra juice for that one. But assuming they'll play. But those are not on this slate. We got 11 games to talk about. And, hey, we can break down these games pretty easily. Let's get to
I gotta cut you off. We got JSU's going to join us. He's in the waiting room, so pull him in here. There he is.
There we go. JSU's joining us for the show. He's going to have his slate plan up for everyone. And JSU, you're popping in. We didn't know that you were joining us today.
I mean, I saw you guys just, 2 of you guys in here. Didn't know that it was just the 2 of you. And I was like, I'm just sitting here. I was about to pull up the slate builder and start on the old content. And I was like, I might as well jump on and talk some hoops with the boys since there was just the 2 of you guys. DC was looking a little lonely. I'm not going to lie. He was just sitting there. He was like, I got to do another show with Mangone.
The problem is, JSU, I kind of like to poke the bear a little bit and get Mangone riled up. It's much harder to do alone when it's just the 2.
Yeah, you can't do that. And that's the best part of putting you guys together is you're supposed to be able to get on him a little bit, but you need someone else so you can do that.
Someone else to bully him. You can't just bully someone by yourself. So now
and then on top of it, I had to get on because you guys were talking about Michael Penix, and I had to listen to the torment of Michael Penix talk because the funniest thing ever is the Millie Maker winner with that lineup with Penix in it was just absolutely ridiculous. That team. I don't know if you saw the team.
I commented on Twitter. Someone posted, I think it was Stochastic, or they won.
Yeah. They post the Billy winner. Yeah.
But this is like the stupidest lineup I've ever seen. Like, I'm sorry,
Dude, but honestly, when you win with a 7 from your quarterback, you deserve to win.
No, but
I don't care what it is.
Yes, he had unstacked Michael Penix, which makes no sense, and then he had the Falcons defense with Michael Penix.
So I disagree. I thought the only way to play Penix was honestly unstacked.
No.
Yeah, I thought you were just playing him for the salary savings. That's literally.
I thought he was going to have a good game, and honestly, I think he'll have a lot of good games going forward. But anyway.
he may. I just didn't think it was going to be against the Giants, who are literally terrible, and they were just going to be able to run the football on them. But
yeah, we got 11 games, so we got to.
Yeah. I don't want. I just thought it was.
I had to think about Michael Penix for the last 24 hours. I'm done with it. I'm moving on.
I agree with the defense take. So
my main point, which was proven just by it, we can wrap it up. He was on the Millie Maker winner because there were so many good plays that you had to spend on that you needed salary relief somewhere. Like you just needed it.
It goes back to the point though, man, going where like punting, to make your lineup and get you whatever you want, whether it's at quarterback, running back, you can win even when they don't score that much. That's the point behind it. So yeah.
Correct. Let's dive in though. Let's talk about it. And like I said, these early games, we can really just talk about them fairly easily. I will call out though, we don't want to talk too much about these early games because there's a lot of news that we have to discuss. We did get a breakdown on RJ Barrett game time decision. So I do not think we get this on air. If we do, we might get it at the 57, 55 mark. Like it'll definitely not getting it right away.
So let me say this before we dive in. Just there's a lot of news that we're still waiting on. I won't be surprised if there's news that pops up tonight that we don't have any idea about right now. That's just completely out of the blue. It's just that type of slate, right? Where it's the last game before 20 teams get like a little bit of a break. No team plays tomorrow. 10 teams play on Christmas. I'm not sure on Thursday. I think just a couple teams. So this is like a kind of I think players are probably like headed out early. Like I bet a lot of these players won't even be on the bench at all that have been ruled out. So it's definitely going to be maybe the craziest slate of the year so far, just in terms of the news that could potentially drop. So just keep that in mind as we're going through this stuff.
And then in the news too, like the 7:30, the 7 news, there's only like 3 guys, right? It's the later stuff too. So it's not even like the early games. What's there? Trae Young, RJ Barrett. That's at 7:30 though. Like these 7 o'clock games, there's no news. So it kind of sucks that we might not get any of this news prior to lock, or we might get it like right at lock.
Oh yeah, for sure. Let's talk about Houston and Charlotte though. You got LaMelo Ball as a spend, obviously with the Brandon Miller out. He could obviously be good. Tari Eason has been out for a bit. Someone like Şengün could definitely dominate in a matchup against Charlotte and show a ceiling performance. Again, I am going to be cautious with some of these plays. I'm going to take my time when it comes to these plays and be like, hey, if I have like 50% of a guy kind of early, I might bump that down. Like it's just something I think naturally is smart to do based on stuff that DC said. But Houston and Charlotte, there's definitely some plays to like here, DC. I think it's specifically Şengün, Jabari Smith are really good. You can make the case to contrarian, LaMelo Ball spend. And Amen Thompson maybe gets a bump. But again, I'd just be careful because, hey, we got a lot of news coming. But what's your thoughts on this game, DC?
So the way I'm playing these early games with the information that we have right now as we're talking is I don't see a lot of values in any of the 4 early games that I want to lock myself into. There's too many values later on, both known and unknown, that I'm not playing borderline plays in these early games. To me, that doesn't make sense on this specific slate. What I am willing to play, though, again, playing my 4 lineups as usual, is a low-owned stud from one of these teams because you get some information, right? If your low-owned stud is going off and nobody has them, not many people lock plays from these early games, you can kind of play the straight value chalk with that player as the night unfolds, right? Because you got off to the good start with the low-owned spend up. So for that reason, I do think, LaMelo Ball, a Sengun, these guys are all decent plays. I don't want, I'm not going crazy with game stacks here or getting multiple pieces from any of these games, but it is the studs on these teams that I do think make the most sense. I think LaMelo, my favorite play from this game. Sengun would be second. I don't know if either guy will end up on any of my lineups, but those are the two guys that I would at least consider, putting in that first early window of games.
JSU, are you loading up on this early game or looking at some other ones?
No, I don't really like this game. I'm not. It's going to be a theme with a lot of these early games. I'm probably going to be lower on most of them. The one play from the Houston game, or there's two plays I think that I would look at. They would be Jabari Smith in the mid tier and Jalen Green, who's put up two nice back-to-back games, still priced I think very affordably. Not someone I'm gonna try to like fit in on purpose, but if he fit as a last guy in, I'd be okay with it. The only problem is just the lineup flexibility. Like when I plug him in, I lose out in some lineup flexibility. So that's the one thing that stinks, but he has a lot of upside for that price tag. So he's the guy I'm definitely considering the most in this game, and then Jabari Smith would be two. I'm not playing anyone else from the Charlotte side, not LaMelo or any of these guys. So yeah,
we did just get news in this game. Dylan Brooks ruled out, so that's not nothing for sure. When starting lineups will matter for sure. I assume Amen Thompson starts now.
Jake Sales is crying himself to sleep. He had the Dylan Brooks play, and now no Dylan Brooks. So sorry, Jake.
I'm mad that he's ruled out so I could fade him because there's no way he was going for another 25 or whatever he scored last game, 27. So I was going to
start over, Jake. Sorry, scrap that.
So are they do we think they start Thompson? Is that just
my guess? But we'll touch on it when we get the starting lineup. I'll mention it and then we'll button that up. That's
I do as well, right?
I do think that makes these guys much better plays, to be honest.
Yeah, let's wait for the starting lineup and we'll circle back. I think that's the best.
Because they could do something weird, and keep him off the bench if they wanted to. But let's wait.
Let's get to next game. We'll go to Utah and Cleveland. And Utah is simply a team that we like to attack, right? But is this the right slate to do it with all these guys kind of in? Mitchell 8-4, Mobley 7-6, Jared Allen really cheap at 6-2. Even Garland feels cheap at 7-1. So it's like you have cheap price tags on Cleveland, even though they're kind of healthy. And then honestly on Utah, you have some cheap price tags too with Collins out and George out. I mean, Lauri Markkanen at 6-7 feels really cheap. You can make the case for Walker Kessler at 6-1, Sexton at 5-5, and Clarkson at 5-3. I think those guys have upside at the price. Like they could show the ceiling, but how much of our player allocation do we actually want to allocate to these guys? So it's definitely a spot where they're underpriced, but also it's a spot where Cleveland could blow them out. I wouldn't be surprised, and all these plays just don't play that many minutes. DC, what are you doing with these price tags in this game?
So last time I checked, I think our friends at Sabersim had Sexton and Clarkson as two of the better point per dollar values on the slate. I'm looking right now. Yeah, both of them still rate out very highly. I assume that's kind of a consensus take around the industry. I certainly understand why with Keontae George and John Collins out, two big pieces for Utah. But man, I'm worried about Utah here on the road before the Christmas break. They haven't been playing super serious basketball anyway. Play one of the best defensive teams in the league, 14-point dogs. Are Sexton and Clarkson really going to get the job done and keep this game close and play their 32-plus minutes? I have my doubts, to be honest. I think this game is the most likely game on the entire slate to end up in a blowout. That said, if it doesn't, right, if Utah does keep this game close, I would think both Clarkson and Sexton have to have pretty good games because there's just not a lot left. And potentially the whole Jazz starting lineup. I mean, Markkanen is cheap. Walker Kessler, you got to imagine they're going to want his size down there. And all these guys are in that 5 to 6K range, right? So if I knew for sure Utah was going to put up 115 points and keep this game within 10 the whole way, honestly, I could see like 4 Utah guys getting there. I don't think that's the way I'm going to play this slate on limited lineups, but I guess my point is, if I'm playing Clarkson, I kind of just want to play Sexton with him and maybe a third Jazz guy. This might be the exception to the rule of waiting on stuff because I do think their minutes are all tied together. They need all these guys to play well, play big minutes for any of them to get there, if that makes sense. So that's kind of my take on Utah. Cleveland, I don't play them that much unless they have guys out, which they don't tonight, or not anyone super significant anyway. The guy I end up most often on in these types of nights is Evan Mobley, actually, I just think he's a little too cheap at 7,600 for the upside he brings. People don't think of him as an upside player, but he is. You saw 56 points in 30 minutes last time out against Philly. Can fill up the stat sheet, and fills sometimes, not tonight, but sometimes tough to fill power forward position. So not going crazy with Cleveland. I actually think I like the Utah side a little bit better, but if I play Utah, it's probably multiple Utah guys on the same lineup.
All right, JSU, Utah and Cleveland, any interest here?
Yeah, I have the same interest, kind of like DC alluded to, but I have 3 teams like I normally play, and one of my teams is just going to be a game stack of this game because I do agree it's probably one of the most likely games on the entire slate that could blow out. But we're not playing for that in DFS, right? We're playing for the what if scenario. And what if this game stays close? Well, I think you get a lot of Jazz starters that have optimal ability, multiple, like 3, and it could even be possibly 4. I don't know about 4, but maybe, because these price tags are really soft. So the way I would play it is I would make sure I have 3 guys. I wouldn't just play the 2 Clarkston and what I would do is I'd probably play Clarkston, Sexton, and then one of Laurie or Walker Kessler on my team.
I think that's the right approach. Yep.
It is probably the right way to go. If you want to play all 4, I don't think that's terrible because if I'm going in on Utah, I'm going in like this game stays close. You know what I mean? I'm not just playing a guy here or there. I want to either go all the way in or just be out on it is kind of my take. So, one of my main teams is going to be a game stack here. And I don't think that means you have to bring it back with Cleveland. I do think you could play some of these guys if you wanted to, like Evan Mobley. DC talked about him. I think he's fine if you want to go to him. But I don't think you have to, it is the point behind it. But I definitely want one team with at least 3 Utah guys here. Like I said, one of the bigs, and then 2 of both guards probably. You would think both guards get there, but I don't know. At least 3 of those 4 guys is what I would do.
Yeah, I will call out too. We just got news. Giddey and Ball, they are both out on the Bulls. So that's another piece of news that we'll get to and discuss. And yeah, I think you guys broke down how to handle that game pretty good. Again, there's feel like mispricings on guys, but they're very volatile plays, right? The ceilings are strong, but the floors are a little bit low. So I get the take of wanting to maybe game stack it up a bit. Let's get to the Celtics and the Magic. And we know the Magic, they play at a pretty slow pace naturally. They got Jalen Suggs in at 7.6K. It does seem like a spot where he could struggle with the defense that they're going to throw on them. Goga has shown to be really strong. He's been absolutely crushing. I don't think this is like the spot for it typically. But I think Goga isn't the craziest idea. And Boston, I just think a lot of these guys just feel overpriced right now. And they're all healthy. DC, is this a spot you're just going to move on pretty quick from?
I think so. I mean, Magic missing both Wagner brothers and Banchero, obviously. So a little bit thin in the front court, which can be a problem with them, right? Trying to allocate where the minutes are going to go on any given night. So, yeah, I think Goga is fine. Wendell Carter's fine. But I don't see myself personally using up a spot in the early games on either one. I'm not going to Suggs or any of the wing guys from Orlando. Yeah, they are a little thin. It's just not for me tonight. And then Boston, yeah, unless we get surprising news, which I don't think is going to happen with Boston. Looks like they're going to play their full team here. can't do it against Orlando with a fully healthy Boston squad. It doesn't make sense on 11-game slate. So unlikely for me to end up on anybody from Boston and Orlando.
Yeah, seems pretty unlikely for me to end up on a lot of these plays. JSU, how about you?
Yeah, it's definitely unlikely I land on any of these guys here. I mean, Boston pretty much fully healthy and ready to go, and then you got Orlando who's banged up, but it's just probably a bad spot. Two teams that, I mean, Orlando games I don't really like in general, and I know they're missing guys, but yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on it because I just don't see many plays at all here. If you want to be, contrarian and, have a little Tatum or something like that on a game, like, massive slate like this, a stud, probably going to be low owned. It's fine, but I'm not doing it here. Not with three teams at least. If you're playing 150, maybe you could go there.
All right, Spurs and Sixers. We got 3 games down, a bunch more to go, and Embiid is definitely a play that's popping a little bit today, which, on this slate, I don't know if I'm dying to play Embiid. I mean, he did put up the 60 against Charlotte, had a good game. How will he fare against Wemby? I'm curious to watch the matchup, right, and see how it goes. We know Embiid will be floating around. We know Wemby. Hopefully we get a ceiling game from him and he can absolutely own Embiid. At least that's what I think I'm hoping for. I think we're all hoping for it because Embiid's kind of a loser. But I don't see myself playing anyone else, like, really, in this game. It's hard to get to Maxey. It's hard to get to Paul George. Like, I know Bobby wrote up SoCan on the playbook, and, for 6'4", I get it. And if you think forward's weak, yeah, but I don't know. I think it's just either play Wemby or Embiid and move on from this game. DC, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know how JSC's kind of the basketball player here. Curious how he thinks the matchup between Wembanyama and Embiid is going to go. I will say, I was looking at obviously projections, ceiling projections, and then ownership. And one play that did stand out to me was Wembanyama himself. It looks like he's going to be very, very low owned on this slate. I've been kind of waiting for the number to move from Sabre, and it has not moved. They still got Wembanyama at 3% owned, which I think he's a really, really good play at that number. I mean, he's the highest upside player, arguably, in the entire league. 66 last time out against Portland. He missed his last shift because of blowout. They're playing in big minutes. He played 37 minutes the game before against Atlanta, put up 70. I mean, of course he could get in foul trouble, and there's some risk with Wembanyama. But, I mean, again, we're talking tournaments here, and worrying about the downside risk when you're trying to beat 30,000 other lineups isn't really, to me, that big of a concern. So give me a super, super low-owned guy, lower than all the other stars on the slate. You lock him in early. You see how he does. If he crushes, you can just play the best point per dollar plays the rest of the way if you want to, and you're off to that start. If he does poorly, well, now maybe you need to get a little different to catch up. So I think he gives you some important information as well. So I am planning to play Wembanyama on at least one of my 3 teams. I think all things considered, he's a really fun play tonight. I mean, a good play, but yeah, well, who would you rather start your lineup with than Wembanyama? See what he can do out there, get the night kicked off early. So I'm in on the Wemby train tonight, personally.
Yeah, if you look at the ownership, Sabre has him at 2.7%, right?
Got to be a good play, that number. He just has to be.
Yeah, and maybe it's not 2 points, maybe it's 7 or 5.
Sure.
The point is that's still low, right? Like, for what Wemby can do.
Yeah.
JCU, I am curious what you think, because I mean, if you think about Wemby and Embiid matching up against each other, you got the really tall dude that's a generational talent, and then Embiid, who's been dominant in the league but flopping around and cries. So I'm very curious.
Wemby just owning him, getting 8 blocks here. I mean, he got 10 freaking blocks last game.
Yeah, I mean, you would think in theory, though, this is a matchup that Embiid would like because he's so much bigger and stronger than Wemby that when he puts his shoulder into that dude's chest, he should be able to move him. But yeah,
Wemby's not I don't know.
Shaq says it best.
He's not.
Shaq says it best. He doesn't put his shoulder into people. He just settles for jumpers.
Well, now, because now all he does really now is just kind of flop and settle for mid-rangers, obviously. But I do think the annoying part about this, I agree with DC sentiment on Wemby, just when you look at the ownership. But these are two centers that I just hate playing centers against. So I don't want to play, even though Embiid looks like a nice price tag, I don't want to play him against Wemby. And I hate playing guys against Embiid because he is just the biggest flopper of all time. And he gets those calls. And I just, in my head, I just foul trouble and I'm paying $11K for him. And it's going to tilt me if like it happens early and I'm just sitting there tilting my face off. So I think the two plays for me in this game are, I do think Sochan is a decent bounce back guy. He's not someone that I would push to get in my lineups, but if he fit as a last piece, I'm okay with it just because he's a little expensive. But the guy that I do like is Devin Vassell. And I don't like many guys in the 7 o'clock window, but I think Devin Vassell, the floor might not be that great, but I think he has the ceiling at 5,400. And at that price tag, he's a direct pivot off of, like the Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton. And I don't think he's going to get much ownership either. So, I mean, Mangone, what's he coming in at with Sabre right now?
I can pull it up. He is getting, I have something on where I can't see it. Oh, I'm on center. He is 8.29%, which it's not crazy, but yeah, he'll be lower. I mean, it's an 11-game slate.
That's fine. Under 10%, that's fine with me. So, yeah, I think those are the two plays. I don't really like the Philly side at all, so I'm probably staying off the old Philly side here.
All right, let's get to a game that has news. Minnesota and Atlanta, and it's actually one of the better games in the slate because, hey, Minnesota, they're playing Atlanta, and any team against Atlanta is pretty much in the conversation on the slate. Not only that, the stars have kind of aligned where Minnesota's just underpriced right now, for the current situation that they're in. They've been underpriced for a bit. Ant is 8-7, Randall 7-3, Gobert 6-6, Conley 4-7, McDaniels 4-5, Naz Reid 4-4, DiVincenzo 4-1. Atlanta, if they miss Trae Young or Bogdanovich, you're going to like plays here, right? Jalen Johnson at 9K would get a ton of usage. Nathan Daniels at 6-7 would pop up a little bit as an interesting play. Capella is only 5-4. It would obviously, and with the Kongu out, Capella is an intriguing play. It would obviously open up the door for other options too if we have both of those guys out. DC, talk about this game because it's clearly a good one on this slate.
Yeah, Wolves, I know, just following them closely. They're ready for a break right now. They're not playing their best basketball. They're frustrated. They just got owned by Karl Anthony Towns coming back, target center. And yeah, I mean, that whole trade, I know it's for the future, but it's been a little bit of a disaster, at least for the first half of the first trade. So kind of lukewarm on the Wolves right now, to be honest. I think Edwards is fine. Naz Reid is a solid value at 4,400, but I would say nothing more than a solid value, right? And on an 11-game slate, I would honestly be a little bit disappointed to end up on a player like Naz Reid coming off the bench in his usual role. So I'm not really anticipating playing a ton from this game. That could change if Trae Young is out. Do we know? He missed the last game, right?
We don't know yet still on him.
My guess would be that he sits out this game. I mean, he sat out last game. Now they get a little break. You would think that maybe he just, gets fully healthy and gets a couple more days off. I don't know that. Obviously, just a guess. So, yeah, if Trae Young is out, I do like Daniels and Johnson a little bit more. But as it stands now, I don't think I'm going to end up on a ton from Atlanta or Minnesota either.
All right, JSU, I think I'm going to have a lot of this game in general. We'll see with the news and how it comes in, right? This game does start at 7:30, so that could kind of shift as we gain some more news.
What do you like from this game, Mangone? I don't really see anything that I like that much.
Well, one thing is I am playing the other site that we shall not name a little bit more, so that's part of it. But, I mean, Ant, I think a lot of people like Ant. I like Naz. I think he's a good play at 4-4 and has a nice ceiling. But I do think if I notice news is coming, I could see myself getting off that value.
That's what I think here.
At power forward. But I think right now he's not the worst play. And we did just get news. Trae Young is available. But I think those are the two best. For me, it's Ant and Naz Reid. If you want to spend in a value, those would be the two that I would go to. And it is a hometown game for him. He's an Atlanta guy. But JSU, talk about this game.
Yeah, Ant would be the play, I think, if I were to play anyone. I will just say it's hometown. I'm gonna have salary to spend too, so that's another thing. Like, I nixed out some of these studs already from some of these other games, like Wemby and Embiid. So some of these guys I got to get up to because I'm gonna have value, right? When we get to some of these later games where the value is gonna be there, that's gonna open up some of these studs. So I think Ant's a perfect guy to fit in there. So dual eligibility, point and shooting guard. Yeah, I'm gonna like some Ant. From the outside of him, it's not a slate where I need to play like a Dante DiVincenzo, or I don't think I'll play a Naz Reid, but it's not a bad spot for someone like him at 4,400. Even McDaniels has been playing pretty good, but they're probably more like MME plays, in my opinion, just with some of the value that I think is going to be better that we're going to get on this slate. On the Atlanta side, though, I don't love the price tags, and I don't love the
Bogdanovich got ruled out, JSU. So Trey in, Bogdanovich out.
Okay, so Trey's in, Bogdanovich out. I guess maybe that bumps up some of these guys like Trey or Dyson Daniels.
I think Hunter a little bit too. But he's 6K. It's tough.
I just don't know. Yeah, maybe it bumps him up a little bit. God, he's just so scoring dependent at 6K. But he's been really good. Like, really, my issue is this though. Like, this is exactly my issue. So his last two games, 26 real points, 27 real points, 28 fantasy points, 38 fantasy points. Like, that's not the best for someone who's at 6K. Like, when you're scoring that much and you're not getting 40, 45, that's a little worrisome. But honestly, Mangone, do we think Risase gets a nice little minutes bump with no Bogdanovich?
He could, but I still wouldn't be shocked if he plays the normal allocation.
I played him in the last game, and he didn't even check back in the second quarter. Like, he just got
That's my worry with him. So you would need Hunter out also, I feel like, to feel like those minutes are secure. And that's the thing. They're not secure. So on this slate, I think it's not worth it.
Yeah, that's fair. Larry Nance is probably the better value anyways. I know he's 1,000 or 900 more, but he's probably a little bit better of a value if you wanted to go there. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of lukewarm on this spot, honestly, even with no Bogdanovich. I don't really know. I'll be lower on it, Mangone, but these guys will be low owned. Like a Jalen Johnson or a Trae Young probably going to be lower owned.
All right, we just got a bunch of starting lineups. We'll rattle through them really fast for you guys so you could know. I missed that Desmond Bane was expected to play. That was 12 minutes ago. The big things we got are Trevelin Queen is starting for the Magic. He kind of feels like at 3.3K as a point guard. He kind of feels like the Seth Curry thing the other day that you and I kind of nailed. And if he gets ownership, whatever, I don't really want to play Trevelin Queen at 3.3K. We got the Hornets is Ball, Green, Martin, Bridges, Mark Williams. The Sixers is Maxey, Oubre, George, KJ Martin, and Embiid. And then Rockets is Van Vliet, Jalen Green. We expected Amen Thompson. That is the guy who's I think gets a bump. Jabari Smith and Şengün. So I guess talk about Amen Thompson and Trevelin Queen, DC.
Queen?
He's 3.3K. He played 18 minutes the last game. He had 19.25.
Okay, I'm looking at him, and I don't feel that bad about him.
Yeah.
He's not very good.
I think it's a spot. I think it's like the spot start thing like Seth Curry the other day. And
if you're considering playing, anyone watching, if you're about to pull the trigger on Trevelin Queen, just pull up his DraftKings, his photo, his profile. Look at his big goofy smile. You don't want to play this guy on 11 games play. No Trevelin Queen for me. Amen Thompson, I think, is way more interesting. He's a really good player who, should play more minutes than he does. He just kind of has some good players ahead of him. I think to me, he's like one of those guys who's kind of waiting to be unleashed. I don't want to call him like SGA from his Clippers days, but a player like that who's a young player who's really good, who can play more minutes. Now maybe he has the chance. He's in the starting lineup. And he has games this season where he's played 39 minutes, 40 minutes, 38 minutes, 35 minutes. So those aren't guaranteed, but he's the type of player who can easily play 39 minutes if it's going his way. He's a good player. He's someone that when he's playing well, the coaches don't want to take him off the court. He's a fantastic defender, all that stuff. So we'll get to Alex Sarr here in a second. So, yeah, Thompson, I think, and especially against Charlotte, right? I mean, let's be honest. It's a good spot for him. There's not much defense, so his offense gets a bump. And you can get in the passing lanes. It's a sloppy team that throws the ball away. Perfect game environment. I see you nodding for Amen Thompson, JSU. I think he's really interesting playing.
I love him. I'm gonna make him a core play. I think. I really like
Thompson tonight. I'm in.
Yeah, the more we talk about, the more I actually like this Houston team in general. But he's the guy that I definitely like the most because, like you said, against a team like Charlotte, who listen, LaMelo's awesome, and he's obviously really good. I'm not putting anything on him, but what he has to work with no Brandon Miller right now. Trey Mann's their other best ball handler. He's out.
Charlotte looks bad right now.
I mean, they're running Josh Green out there, solid minutes. They're running Martin out there, solid minutes. These aren't like your typical guards. They're like tweeners, you know what I mean? And they're really forwards that play out of position on this team right now. And that's just not that. I think it's going to be a huge mismatch just from an athleticism standpoint when you just look at the talent and the athleticism that these wings from Houston have with Jalen Green and Amen Thompson. There's a serious mismatch, I think, and one of those two guys I feel like is going to take big advantage of it. But yeah, I'm with you 100%. I like him a lot.
All right, a couple more pieces of news. Sexton, Svi, Markkanen, Potter, Kessler is the starting lineup. Zubac is a game time decision. Koulibaly out, Sarr out. So that's the main news we just got. So obviously the Zubac stuff is important, but we still are waiting on that. Let's get to which game did I want to do next? Brooklyn and Miami, because I do think there are plays to discuss here. We did get Jimmy Butler ruled out. I'm not dying to play these Brooklyn Nets. You could make the case for like a Ben Simmons who's been playing a little bit better. Minutes have been up. I think it's between like Hero, Bam, and Drew Smith. Those are the main guys we're looking at here. DC, talk about Brooklyn and Miami.
Well, congrats to Ben Simmons. 40 fantasy points last out in a career high. 15 real points to go with it. So shout out Ben Simmons. I know JSU's not playing him. I'm not going to play Ben Simmons either.
But he's a conversation point. Like if you're playing tournaments today and you use projections, like you will get him. So it's like you have to make a decision on him, in my opinion. That's all I'm getting.
Yeah, my decision is no, thank you. I also use projection. So no Ben Simmons for me. Honestly, I'm probably not going to play any Nets and the Heat. Tyler Hero, I think is fine. I don't think I'm going to get there. I mean, we're going to get to this Milwaukee-Chicago game here in a second where it has all these key pieces missing and is probably the best game anyway. So, yeah, it's kind of a high bar to clear to make it on limited teams from these early games in Brooklyn, Miami. Unless you guys can talk me into something, I'm probably going to be off this game.
Yeah, not super excited.
Yeah, go talk him into something.
I think I could talk into Tyler Hero, right? Like if this game was competitive, that he has upside without Jimmy. When Jimmy Butler is out, right? He is the guy. And
I think he's the best play, but I still don't love it.
Yeah, I think Hero is a good play, but it just depends how you're using, how you're building out your lineup and everything. Like, for instance, if you're playing the Bucks and Ryan Rollins, who we're going to get to, like you might not have a shooting guard spot, and then you're not as excited about playing him. So that's another thing to discuss. And of course, there's Amen Thompson at shooting guard, Kobe White. JSU, talk about the Nets and Heat because I don't think there's a lot to like, but you can't ignore it.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get to some of these games later that we're going to really like, and I don't want to talk too much about this. there's not many plays that are just even in play from the Brooklyn side. Like Ben Simmons might be the only like play I think you could even talk about from that side, even just because of, you know, what he's done with the minutes and stuff like that. But the Miami side, it's literally just, I mean, Hero, Bam. I normally like guys like Bam against Brooklyn, but he's 8,100. There's a lot of good center plays. I think he's fine, and I think Hero's fine. But again, not priorities for me. We're going to get to some games where I feel like there's some definite priorities.
All right, I want to skip Toronto and the Knicks because we are waiting the RJ Barrett news. We should get that sort of soon.
Go to Washington.
What? No, we're gonna get to. Well, that's at 8 o'clock. Let's get to the Bucks. Let's talk about that. The Bucks and Bulls. That's the first 8 o'clock game.
That's 8 o'clock too. They're the same.
I know. But this is the game. Jason, you're not the host right now. Get out of here, okay?
All right, fine.
I'll talk about the Bucks.
Yes, man, going. We'll do what you say. Yes.
Let's talk about the Bucks because clearly they're good plays. We have to like them. We're gonna like Ryan Rollins, who's starting. Bobby Portis is the best play on the slate at 6.3K. I no doubt about it. I'll be playing him. Brook Lopez, he was pretty disappointing last game out, and I honestly think that was just I think we're going to get him at a discount. I think he's a way better play when Giannis is out, and I like him a lot here in this spot. So Brook Lopez is someone that I think people are overlooking, and I don't know what to do with Chris Middleton because I did nail yesterday or whenever it was, I think a day or two ago, that Chris Middleton would not get a lot of minutes. I said he is still going to get those 24 minutes. Now, we fought in the Discord chat about it. Okay, is that enough for him to be on the winner, right? Will his usage just be so high that it doesn't matter that he plays 24 minutes? I faded him, and I looked like an idiot. But, DC, I saw you had some Middleton in your core. I'm telling you, he's not magically playing 28 or 30 minutes. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's okay. But that is something you have to expect, I think, going into this game when rostering Chris Middleton. But talk about the Middleton stuff and the rest of the plays.
Yeah, I did put my core in before the show. Middleton's coming out, so I'm going to probably move off of him with some of the news. Specifically, I like Amen Thompson more than Chris Middleton. So Middleton gets the boot for me. I'm with you, Mangon. I think he is I've got him for 24, 25 minutes. I think he's like hard capped at like 28 or 29. Like, I don't even know if they'll go over that number if it went to overtime, something like that. Wouldn't be surprised if they just gave him the hook anyway. So even if he starts, I promise you, we saw it the other night. He played the 8. Like, he's not getting more minutes. If he does, it's maybe 26, 27, but that's it. Yeah. That said, he's relatively cheap. He's without his 2 co-stars and Giannis and Dame Lillard, and he's playing pretty good, and he's playing Chicago. So he could absolutely have a big game in 25 minutes. I think he's capable of 40-plus fantasy points. That gets the job done at 6K, even if it's in limited minutes. So I still think he's a good play. Probably not quite going to make the cut for me anymore. I'm with you on Portis. At least on DraftKings at 6,300, I do think he is the best play on the slate. He is the first guy into my lineups. He is on all 3 of my DraftKings lineup, probably on my FanDuel lineup as well. So Portis, I'm viewing him as something of a free square. I don't think that's quite true, but that's how I'm personally treating him tonight on limited lineups. Second guy from Milwaukee that I think is the next best play is Ryan Rollins. Played 30 minutes last time out. Looked pretty good. He's been limited minutes, but he has been a pretty good point per minute producer in his limited minutes so far. And again, this is the type of game where a young player like him can kind of show the athleticism, right? And you don't have to worry so much about him getting lost on a lockdown defense. The game's going to be up and down. Chicago plays that way. So Rollins, I think, gets there. AJ Green, again, his value might be going down a little bit the more players that get ruled out, but he played 31 minutes last time out. I think he's a decent player. I think they trust him. I think he gets 30 minutes, and any player who gets 30 minutes at against Chicago in the low 4Ks, you got to consider them. So AJ Green's still on my list. I know that's 3 or 4 Milwaukee now, and then Lopez would be the 5th. I'm with you, Mangon. I think he's a solid play. I worry I do worry a little bit about the upside with Lopez, but I think they're going to need his size against Vucevic. So I think his minutes have a good chance to be there. And then there's one more. Gary Trent, I think I'm going to give the boot. Just, in my opinion, not enough upside. I was kind of on him. Just don't know if you're going to need that value. I prefer AJ Green over Trent, and I don't really want to play both those guys in the same lineup. So that's Milwaukee for me. Chicago, no Giddey and no Lonzo. So pretty clear bumps to Oyo DeSumo, Kobe White, a little bit of a bump for Zach LaVine. And if you need a low-owned value that I like to play when Chicago's shorthanded, THT, Horton Tucker, usually gets 25 minutes off the bench and cheap, and he can do some stuff. So, yeah, Chicago side is interesting as well. Really, really good game here. I think overall the best game of the night.
All right, we just got news. Luka available, so that is news that if that hit, that would have really flipped up the slate. JSU, the Bucks are clearly they're the spot to talk about on the slate. For me, it's Bobby Portis 1, Rollins 2. I actually lean Lopez 3, and then Middleton 4. And I'll admit, I'm going to try to kind of be lower on Middleton. I had to take yesterday. I'm going to have it again today. What's your thoughts here, JSU?
Yeah, Middleton was someone that I was looking at, but now I kind of like these Houston guys a little bit more, and a lot of the guys that I like are kind of in his range. So I think I'm going to be replacing some of my Middleton shares with some of those guys. But I definitely like, obviously, Bobby Portis and Ryan Rollins. I think are both really good plays. Brook Lopez, I'm fine with because he's pretty cheap, but again, not someone I love. And I kind of like the bull side. I really like Zach LaVine and Ayo Dosunmu, with Brook Lopez kind of like, camping outside the 3-point line where Vooch is going to have to go. Ayo is one of those guards that, like, he's not exactly like Giddey, but like he can do similar things in the aspect of, like, he can be kind of an all-around guard. He's not really a scorer, I would say, but he's getting better in that aspect. He can get rebounds, though. He's a strong defender. He can play make if you need him to, so he can do all that. But when Giddey's there, he doesn't have to. Plus Lonzo does some of that. So I think when those guys are out is when you can see his full upside, and we've seen it. We've seen him put up a triple-double this year. You know what I mean? So he has that type of game in him. So
the other thing, JSU, is look at the matchup for Kobe White and Dosunmu. I mean, it's AJ Green and Ryan Rollins and Gary Trent. It's like a really, really weak defensive backcourt. White and Dosunmu and LaVine.
I will say AJ Green has definitely gotten way more improved defensively this year. Like, that was something that they would talk about, how he would just get killed defensively in years past, and that this year he definitely has gotten better. You can just tell he's like putting more effort into it, but sure. I will say he's not like as bad, in my opinion, just from watching him this year.
It's still a good matchup for the Bulls guards.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. So, but yeah, I definitely like the Bulls guards here, and I think you could even play two of them in the same lineup. So like two of those three guys, and then like from the Bucks perspective, I mean Bobby Portis and Ryan Rollins, I'm playing on most of my teams. So it's just if I want a third, it would be between Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton. I think that Chris Middleton definitely has upside capped by his minutes, but that kind of leans me to more Brook Lopez just because I think he could play a little bit more. And I hate playing guys that are on like a minutes cap, but we saw 40 out of Chris Middleton. It's not like it's crazy for him to do that again.
My favorite would be Kobe White on the Bulls side. So if you told me to pick one of those guys, I like him a lot. If you had to pick like a Bulls guard, who's your guy, DC? Is it Kobe White?
I don't even White and Dosunmu for me. They're always like the same price, and I honestly don't really have a take. Am I wrong to think they're kind of interchangeable? I mean, Maybe.
They definitely are, but I just like White's upside with. I mean, obviously one's more of a stocks guy, and the other guy's more of a shooter that just gets hot. So, but oh, that's not good. I don't know. I broke the opto, so that's never a good thing. JC, talk about the Wizards, because I got to fix my optimizer here, and you wanted to talk about the Wizards, and we're excited. Obviously, we have news that those guys are out. What are you doing here with Washington?
Okay, I'm glad you gave me the okay to talk about the old Washington Wizards, man. Going.
No problem.
So we get the news with more guys out for the Wizards, obviously with Sarr, who was playing a lot of the big minutes, and then now you get cheap. I think Keyshawn George is going to step in and play a good amount of minutes here at 3,300. So that kind of makes him interesting to me. I like that price on DraftKings for sure. My question's more, what do they do with the bigs for Washington? Because, taking Sarr out, do we see J-Val get like a minutes bump is the question. I think we do. DC, what do you think his minutes ceiling is? Someone like J-Val.
I mean, I assume he could play 30, but man, I'm not playing J-Val even at 4,500. OKC, I mean, they should just slaughter this team.
They should just slaughter this team. I agree with you, but I'm just saying, like, J-Val's upside just in in short minutes, like we've seen his upside. So
he could get there in his first shift.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's someone though. Like, I wouldn't take out.
We just got news that Terry Rozier is out, which obviously is a nice bump for like Hero and Drew Smith. I don't know what you guys think of that all.
Well, now we have Rozier and Butler out, so that does change things for Miami.
I think Drew Smith's a really good value play.
Yeah,
I also think that Jaime Jaquez should finally play more, but
he might start now. I wouldn't be totally surprised if he does.
Those are the guys though that get the bump. Would be those two for me.
I think Drew Smith, especially because this news is kind of unexpected and kind of late. Like, nobody was really on Drew Smith throughout the day, so he'll get some ownership, but it won't be what it would have been if we would have had this news all day long. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that.
And someone like Cam Whitmore won't get any ownership.
He's in Phallic score, actually.
Yeah, so like I think
that's a good sign. He won't get any ownership.
Yeah, no, because Kevin plays these type of plays where
he's a good player.
They're on the surface. I think he's a good play too, but like when you're gonna get a Keyshawn George that's almost same price, and Keyshawn's probably gonna play 30 minutes for sure. Like, that's the thing that sucks, but he's got big playability, and he's good, Cam Whitmore. Like, I really like his game, so that's a good pull, Daniel. I like that call.
All right, DC, talk about the Wizards situation.
Yeah, I'm not playing the Wizards against the best team in the league on the road. I'll leave the Wizards for the field. Not going to be for me. And I'm not playing OKC either. I think this game is going to be quick. I think OKC takes care of business here. And these guys get their full minutes. They got obviously a very, very deep team. So I'm playing blowout script. I know I said Cleveland the most likely blowout. I'd like to amend my statement to OKC as the most likely, but good chance both of them, I think, get out of control early.
Yeah, two pieces of news we're still waiting on is RJ Barrett and Zubac. Let's talk about Portland and Dallas, DC. I do think this is a game worth kind of mentioning because we have studs you can get to, but you could also fade it completely. You could easily get Luka or the Kyries and play them. That's all I'm really looking at, DC. What about you?
Yeah, I ended up playing Wembanyama as my stud, rolling the dice there, seeing how that shakes out. So I'm not going to get to Luka. We did just get news. Koulibaly also out for the Wizards. I'm still not falling for it. They can rule out as many guys as they want. I'm not playing the freaking Wizards tonight. But yeah, Luka is fine. Obviously, going into playing against Portland, great matchup. With him in though, I think that does take all of the Dallas guys pretty much out of play, other than Luka. And then Portland, mostly healthy. I don't see much to be, have me waiting around all night to play some Blazers. So not going to have a ton from Dallas and Portland for me.
Yeah, that's fair. What about you, JSU?
Portland, I like Anthony Simons and DeAndre Ayton's price tags. I think they're solid plays from the Dallas side. Right now I don't have much, but it's more just like if one of these guys were to fit, I could maybe think about it. But it's more those two studs from Portland, just because I still think their prices are too cheap in my opinion. So. Luka, if you get to a man going like, I don't hate paying for it if you get there. I mean, especially if you go the route of playing like an Ayton or Simons. I mean, Luka's got all the upside in the world. So yeah, I might sprinkle a little Luka in if I can get up to him with the value.
Sure. Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. Let's get to the Raptors stuff because I mean we don't have the news on it, but DC, talk about the RJ Barrett stuff because he is ruled out. Like there's clearly values you can get to in this game that are kind of good, and I don't think it should be ignored. DC, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, if Barrett misses, I mean Barnes obviously gets the biggest bump there. He becomes a good play. He's still 9,100 and on a big underdog, and he's a really good player. I'm not sure you should be like the true like number one alpha. I just don't know if he can really carry a team like that. He's being asked to do it, so it makes him a good fantasy play. But it makes me worried about the Raptors competing against a really good Knicks team overall. So I'm a little worried about the Raptors here as well, putting on a decent performance. I kind of hope Barrett plays, so I don't need to, end up on in Toronto. Don't know if I will anyway. And then the Knicks, when they're healthy, you can kind of make a case for all of their guys because they all play 40 minutes every night. So, of course, they're reasonable plays. I do think my favorite of the bunch is Karl Anthony Towns, who has really, really soft matchup on the interior against the likes of Olenek and Mogbo and Fernando. Towns should be eaten tonight. So, again, don't know if I'll end up there, but he is my favorite play in this game.
Yeah, I'd agree. Towns is probably the best play. I'm kind of hoping RJ Barrett. I'm kind of hoping he's just in like you, so I don't have to worry too much about the situation. JSU, how do you feel about the Raptors and the Knicks?
I'm not in on this game outside of Towns. This is another reason why I wanted to keep a stud center open as opposed to the Embiid, and I like Towns here. I think Towns is my stud on this slate, so I'm going to be playing him. I'm probably going to be out on the rest of this game.
All right. Last spot to talk about, which I do think it matters. I like Harden here. I think it's a good spot for him against this Memphis team. We did get that Bane is in, but we did not get the Zubac news, which matters. And if Zubac is out, I would be a little concerned about Harden and maybe move some stuff around. But Zubac at 7-3, I do think they'll use him a lot. And I think you could see both sides kind of match up, which would make Edie a value that people have definitely talked about today. DC, are you finishing anything with your lineups, or are you able to talk about what you're doing with this game? Actually, we did just get news that Jason Tatum is questionable. So with an illness, if you have any Jason Tatum, please, please, please get him out of your lineups right now. Sorry.
Maybe get in some a Celtic or two.
Got about 10 seconds.
Yeah, I mean RJ Barrett just got rolled in. I mean, it locks in a second, so it's like really hard to like get a Celtic in. You don't even know if he's playing or not. So the key was just get him out of your lineup, I guess, for now.
You got ruled questionable 1 minute before lock?
Yeah, yes. It's insane. But with an illness, of course.
Yeah. You're probably not playing, right?
No, I mean, I didn't have him. I just double checked and I didn't have him. I did as fast as I could, but I knew it was going to be damn near impossible. I don't think I would have much anyways, but actually it's a good spot to bet the props if you want. I don't know. And they're probably locked actually, but
you get to see some good tweets from people who had Jason Tatum in their lineup tonight if he was ruled out. That'll be good.
People will definitely be asking for their props to be refunded, of course, like they always do. But yeah, talk about the Clippers situation a little bit, yeah, DC.
The Clippers.
Clippers and
Yeah. I don't really plan to end up on much here. Zubac is the big news to follow if you need to make a swap late. So, yeah, follow the Zubac news. Other than that, don't see a ton to love on the Clippers side. Memphis side, depends on Bane is expected to play. I'm not going to end up on much here, honestly. So, not a lot for me from Clippers and Grizzlies.
All right, and good news, Mr. T Swift got him out of his lineup. He had Tatum in there and got him out. Jason, I don't know if he did, but
I don't even know what I had, but I got one. I swapped one team to Jaylen Brown, just like really fast. I don't even know what else I have on the team.
I only have to go back and fix it all.
Yeah. We did get good news, JSU. You'll like this news. Tyler Hero, Mr. Hawkes Jr., Robinson, Highsmith, and Adebayo are starting. Desmond Bane is available. We already got that. I don't know why I'm getting that again. But JSU, I guess, talk a little bit about that. I'd talk about that situation a little bit with the
so wait, you said that Hawkes, who was the other guy that was starting?
Hawkes, Robinson, Highsmith, and then Bam and Hero. Those are the starters.
Yeah, I definitely like Jaime Hawkes, and I still think you can play Drew Smith off the bench. I think he's going to play a good amount anyways, but for sure, Hawkes to me is the guy that I would want a piece of. So yeah, I'm going to play some of him. And then if you want to play a Hero, I think it helps him a little bit. Maybe like a Hero Bam combo. Like I do think you can play something like that. So, and we have the salary to kind of get that done here. So, I don't mind stacking this game up, man. Like the more I'm thinking about it with Miami, like I think you can play 2 or 3 of these guys if you want. The more I'm looking at it.
They're definitely a good place. Barrett is in DC. What changes with the Hawkes stuff for you? Anything? Because for me, he's a good play, no doubt.
Yeah, he's definitely in contention to get in one of my lineups. Again, don't have a lot of locked so far, so hard to say exactly where he'll end up. But Hawkes certainly on the short list. Drew Smith, even off the bench, I think it still is a good play. His ownership won't go up nearly as much as it would have if he was in the starting lineup. And yeah, I think was there another question there, Mangone, that I missed?
No, it was mainly about Hawkes.
Yeah, Hawkes is definitely a good play at this point. He's got to be. So yeah, there's a good chance I'll play him on one of my 3.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. We got the Barrett stuff. Hawkes over George. Yeah, I would go Hawkes over George. That's Keyshawn George, I assume you're mentioning.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there's anything else to discuss. I mean, we did get a couple more lineups.
Mr. Swift said, I don't see Tatum on the floor right now, but that might change. Yeah. What was he questionable with all of a sudden? An illness? What was
an illness? So
yeah, he's probably stuck on the friggin' toilet right now. He can't. He's back in the locker room.
We got Trae Young, Daniels, Zachariah, Johnson, and Capella. That is one of the starting lineups. We got Brunson, Bridges, Anunoby, Hart, Towns, another starting lineup. Raptors is Barnes, Dick, Agbaji, Barrett, Mogbo. Timberwolves, Conley, Ant, McDaniels, Randall, Gobert, and I think that's most of the lineups. Also, keep in mind, Rozier is out, right? With Rozier being out, that is even better for Hawkes, right? I know we talked about him starting, but I think that matters. Levine or Hero? I lean Hero. What about you, DC?
Yeah, Hero. Yep.
Yeah, that's my thoughts on it. JSU, do you like Johnson? I assume you mean Jalen Johnson. I mean, I like Jalen, but I do worry it's a little overpriced with Trae Young being back. What do you think? What do you think, JSU?
It's definitely an overpriced, but who was or was it just Johnson?
I think it's Jalen. I mean, I think it's just overpriced. You can have McDaniels on him likely. I doubt McDaniels is running around on Trae, so I don't.
Yeah, I don't mind him. Like if you get up like with all this value now, I could see yourself getting up into a spot where you're just like, oh, he's there. You know what I mean? Like I can play some Jalen Johnson.
Sure.
I'm fine with that. But he's not someone I'm trying to like fit in there for sure.
Yeah, it's like any stud, right? It's like if you fall on him and like you like everything else, like I get it, but I'm not prioritizing him, I guess is where I'm at.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Nance or Nas? I would say Nas. Nance isn't even starting, but I know Nas doesn't start, but I think it's Nas for sure. We don't have anything else. I think we have all the news except for Zubac. I think that's the one piece we really need. We don't have Banton and Robert Williams for Portland, but that's okay. That's not the end of the world.
We're not going to get that right now anyway. So anyone playing my core, I did just update it. So
Robert Williams out, Banton available. JSU just updated his core. Nas or Joval, JSU, you got to pick one.
Joval.
Joval, it is. I'm making adjustments.
Riskiest versus like the safest play. Those two.
I know.
I'm with the UJs here. I think Joval is the one, but he's got more likely to pop off for you.
Yeah, Drew is not starting. It's Highsmith starting, Robinson and Jaquez, and then of course Hero and Bam. All right, Jaquez or Rollins? I still think it's clearly Rollins. Does anyone disagree?
I like both, but Rollins, yeah.
Yeah.
I got them both, but
this is the wrong site for
Rollins.
Marvin Bagley. I want to call that out. Please, please, please. Do not play Marvin Bagley. We did get a starting lineup: Holiday, White, Brown, Horford, and Porzingis. So I'm assuming Tatum's out unless he's on the toilet and comes in at the 6-minute mark or something. But I assume
he wants the hero's welcome when he comes out of there 3 minutes into the first quarter.
Hey, he's not the first Celtics stud to take a shit and come back. You know what I'm saying? That could be what's going on.
Get the card out for him. Get the wheelchair out for him. Come on, push him back.
Yeah, if Jason Tatum comes back, I'm gonna have to post on Twitter the Paul Pierce wheelchair.
Yeah,
sure.
Exactly. Yeah,
gotta have to post that on Twitter if that happens. I don't have anything else. If you guys got any more questions, we can answer a couple more. Tony playing Filipowski. Don't tell me Big T's not playing Filipowski, is he? There's no way.
I looked at Filipowski earlier, but didn't quite make the cut.
It's not.
Zero chance.
There's no way.
I'm calling zero shot.
Yeah, zero shot for sure.
It's a weird thing to make up if it's not true, though.
True.
Yeah.
Very specific.
That is very specific for sure. I don't really got too much else to cover. I guess if you see any last questions, we'll throw them in there. Yeah, the 1% Jaylen Brown. I definitely could not mix that in. So, yeah.
JSU's to the winner circle.
Yeah, I gotta leave like 800 on the table, but I'm doing it because I got stuck in this range with Towns. It's like my stud, and I don't know if you guys like that range. It's
you can't get Wemby now, I bet. Yeah.
He's 10-2, and I had 700 left over exactly. So that's 10-9, and the only stud is Tatum at 10-5, and he's obviously not playing, and Wemby's 11K. So I can't even get up to like Luka or anyone like that, but it's fine. I'll eat the 700. It's all right.
It happens. Not the end of the world. There's worse things that can happen to your lineup. So
right.
I wouldn't stress it too
like
much.
Michael Penix.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, I ran my DK stuff. I didn't even look at my DK stuff. I made sure my FanDuel stuff was good. I ran my DK. I have 85% Valanciunas. I think that's going to change when we get out of here. I'll tell you that right now. So I did
85% Valanciunas.
So this is what I did. I went to the early games and I made adjustments to make sure I wasn't too overweight on anything stupid, and I didn't even look and see the later stuff because I know we're going to get news, right, to change and make adjustments. And that is one guy I have 85% of. So that's disgusting, and I will definitely be adjusting that as we get on out of here. So that is definitely my plan here. Travis,
get it.
94% is the RBS projection of 31. That is a little crazy. For me, I'm not going to do that, but I will make an adjustment when I get off the show here. So
you guys ready? You guys ready to get kicked in the balls by Josh Jacobs for the 14th straight game? Finally playing him tonight, and he's going to do jack.
Yeah, it's going to be the one time we play him when he finally just does nothing.
I had to mention that for all the people don't play Josh Jacobs because I'm playing him and it's not going to work out for me. So
Yeah.
That's how I feel about the defense. I never play defense in Showdown unless it's
Same.
like low owned defense, like low owned and not the defense that everyone likes. Or cheap. I never pay up for defense, and I'm paying up for defense tonight. Like I just
Packers D and Josh Jacobs.
Packers D, Josh Jacobs, yeah. So
Do you
Cue up the shootout, JSU.
yeah.
do you have the balls to play 4 Saints and 2 Packers?
I mean, that's the contrarian route. If you have the balls, I mean, I guess I don't. On some slates I got the balls. On this slate, it's my Packers team 2-man going. You're a Packers fan. It's our Packers team right here. Get your cheese head on or whatever it's called.
My cheese head it's over there. I could go grab it. So DC would hate it. DC hates the cheese head. He's not a fan, but
stupid as hell.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. You're a Vikings fan, Vikings and Chiefs fan. It must feel good to get all the wins you got.
Isn't that next week? Is it Vikings Packers next week, or is it the week after? When do we get Vikings Packers?
Week 17.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a huge game too, because like the Vikings.
It's not as big. It's not as big for the Packers because like they've kind of like they can't.
No, it's huge for the Vikings though, like because they're technically still in it for the 1 seed, right? Like they're not out of it.
Man, Gone's a fan of half the teams in the league. So
this is fake news. JSU. In football, can you name what teams do I associate myself?
I've never seen Mangone root for any team but the Packers. So I'll be honest, I've never seen it. So if it's happened, I haven't seen it.
Oh, it happens.
It doesn't happen.
Who's the other team? What's your other?
That's what I said to DC. I said name it.
All 31 of them. He's a fan of at some point.
Just every single one of them. DC said you like Mangone.
He's like the guy with the NFL hat. Yeah.
The only other jersey I ever owned as a kid that wasn't a Packers jersey, you guys will like this. It was a Saints jersey. Can anyone guess? A New Orleans Saint from when I was a kid, really young.
New Orleans Saint.
Yep.
The quarterback?
No, it was a running back. A running back on the Saints.
Ricky Williams.
DC got it. There you go. Ricky
wow.
Williams.
Good pull.
Yeah. Again, it wasn't his main team was the Dolphins, but I liked Ricky a lot there. So Ricky.
Why'd you like Ricky Mangone? What'd you like about him?
He was the man. He was
the man.
I think it was
ganja. Mangone was smoking ganja back in the day as a kid.
No, it was Madden. He was the man in Madden, right? If anyone,
he was the man in video games.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he wasn't Mike Vick. He was pretty good.
Yeah, Mike Vick was like the best.
Yeah, we got good guesses. Joe Horn, Pierre Thomas, some Archie Manning. I definitely am not that old for Archie Manning. But one last question, and then we'll get on out of here. Drew, Smith, Towns, or Ayton and Ant? Ugh. I think it's Drew and Towns because I do not want to play DeAndre Ayton, even though I love Ant. DC, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, give me one there.
All right, JSU, agree? Drew and Towns or Ayton and Ant?
Yeah, I'm going Towns, so yeah.
Yeah, the Joe Horn cell phone one, the T.O. popcorn was another good celebration. So a lot of good ones from back in the day. Now they just do gritties, and they get fined for it. So, but all right, that is gonna wrap it up for us here on the NBA show. Thanks a lot for joining us. For me, Mango and DC, JSU. We'll see you guys later.